Disclaimer: everything that is discussed, posted is strictly for educational and historical purposes only. It does not promote nor condone illegal activities. CRENSHAW'S CH HURT 3XW. I purchased HURT from Morris Carver in the early 1970s. Morris told me he had a pretty good 48 to 49 pound male that he felt would be a good match dog. I thought for a day or so about the fact that Rascal was also this weight. $1,000 was a lot of green back then. But after looking at how HURT was bred and thinking how he would or should produce bred to CH Honey Bunch, I sent the check to Morris. A few days later, Morris called and told me that HURT would be on an evening flight arriving in Atlanta. When I saw HURT, I was sure I had made the right decision. He was a very good-looking black dog with a super good attitude and disposition. Morris had told me that HURT was totally checked and ready to go, but I couldn't do anything with him without taking a look. He didn't impress me too much when I looked at him, so I decided to do him cheap. I put his weight out and got on a two-time winner that had won his last, over one of Jerry's dogs in about 1.5 hours. As I was walking HURT, I could see a definite change in his attitude. He loved to work and seemed to feel better each day. Finally came time to travel and I loaded HURT in the old Jeep. We went to a well-known spot back then, where many good ones had met and still did. When we released the dogs, I had never been so surprised in my life. HURT came out as strong as I have ever seen one. In 10 minutes the opponent was trying to run. A turn was called and the opponent took the count first time up. I asked for a courtesy and when I released HURT, he took the opponent through the wall and under the bleachers. Needless to say, I thought a little more of him now. Next, I took him to the Midwest and won over another 2X winner in about an hour for a better purse. Bert Klaus had seen both shows and felt HURT was a very good dog. One day Bert called and said some men up north had a 49 and wanted to go for a good ticket. I told Bert I would do it. Next day Bert called and said I would have to travel to them, that they wouldn't travel. I told Bert I would, but I wanted to go for a good ticket, since I was going to have to travel 1,200 miles and most of it on 2-lane roads. Bert called back and said the other side wanted to go for $5,000. This was a lot back then, but I said that between me and the group that traveled with me, we would do it. I thought this was the bet, but 1 week before time to travel, Bert called and said the other side had a problem coming up with $5,000 and could I go less. I agreed and told Bert we would go for what they wanted to. By this time, I had quit my job and devoted all my time to my dog for the last 3 months. I always did this when I had one going for a good purse. I would quit my job and get another when I finished. I was a meat cutter and could get a job anywhere around Atlanta then. But anyway, when we arrived with our 2X winner, HURT, in the cornfield, Bert, Joe, Rick, Les, Frank, and many other fanciers from Minnesota and the Midwest. Ralph Greenwood, who was on his way to buy the A.P.B.T from Frank Ferris, were there. When Bert came up and greeted all of us, I asked him what the ticket was. He said, $100. I almost fell out. I asked Bert, "You mean I drove 1,200 miles and took 3 months off work for $100? He said, "Hell, James, that's all they would go for." Okay, we did it and HURT won number 3 in 38 minutes. When I got back home, CH Honey Bunch was in heat. About 10 days later I bred Honey Bunch to CH HURT. She didn't have any pups, so I thought it was because he was bred too soon out of the show. I bred him to several other females and got no pups. I took him to the university clinic and left him for tests. He was checked several times over a period of 2 weeks and I was told he had no live cells. I bred him to several more females and none of them had pups, so I gave him to a cousin of mine in Carolina. They bred him and got pups. In fact, they got many litters. So I took him back to GA and bred him to Honey Bunch again, as well as 3 other females, but none of them had pups. This made a total of 24 times I bred HURT and didn't get pups. I don't understand how he sired pups in Carolina and never sired any for me, but I suppose stranger things have happened. I am not saying HURT didn't sire the pups, only that he didn't produce any for me. At any rate, I would have loved to had pups off him. He was one hell of a good dog. Well, there you have it, folks, the story of CRENSHAW'S champion HURT 3XW.